Hey, welcome home, insiders. I hope everybody's doing well today. As we get started here, if you could just put your name, where you serve, uh, what branch you served in, and where you currently reside. And for those Vietnam veterans, today's a special day for VA Claims Insider. We're going to be talking about Agent Orange exposure and some of the presumptive conditions that go along with that exposure to Agent Orange. I'm Senior Veteran Coach Darrell, and with me is
Veteran Coach Andrew Porter. Nice to have you guys along with us today. Good to see you, Darrell. Always love to see that beard of yours.
Yeah, it feels like it's getting a little bit heavier too as I get older.
Keeps your face warm in the wintertime here.
It does. It does. So just a little about me. I served in the first Gulf War. I served with the Marine Corps, Desert Storm, and I worked for the VA for about 11 years. 6.5 of that I was a rating specialist. And now I'm here at VA Claims Insider, living the dream.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Coach. A little bit about me. My name is Andrew Porter. I served from 2004 to 2015, most recently in the Airborne Infantry at Fort Bragg, North Carolina in the 82nd. And I am 100% P&T myself. So hopefully we can give you guys some tips and some pointers on kind of how to get yourself to where you need to be as well and get those benefits you deserve. And today, like Darrell said, we're focusing on Agent Orange and kind of the presumptives and where it comes from and the history of that stuff. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Coach Darrell McDonald.
All right, let's look at some of these people in the chat here. We've got Ron F., Vietnam, 69 to 70 and 71 to 72, 2 tours. Wow. Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Got you a fellow Desert Storm vet there.
Yeah, Chuck Day, Marine Corps, Semper Fi, 68 to 69, Da Nang.
Adam Hallett. I know that guy.
He is that guy.
Chat there. Afghanistan, 10, 12, and 15.
Jim
fellow
Harrier.
Marine Corps buddy of yours.
Yeah, Jim Harrier, 69 to 70, and Da Nang also. My dad served in Vietnam as well. My dad was in Quang Tri, Vietnam, and he worked with Signal Corps.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So a special breed those Vietnam veterans are. The welcome home they got was less than acceptable, and now it's nice to have them coming on board, and a lot of them are starting to work to get those benefits that they deserve. But and I understand being shunned by the VA and by people for so long, it's hard to get some of them to get in there and do what they wanted to do. My dad, for example, he's served. I had to talk him into going in for a tinnitus examination and a hearing loss examination. He just wouldn't do it.
Nothing but toughness from that generation, right? I mean, these guys and gals didn't know how to make themselves go see medical, right? It's one of those things where it was kind of frowned upon, but I'm glad that as the years go by, they're starting to come around, and folks like yourself are starting to talk some sense and to say, hey, look, there's no shame in taking care of yourself, brother.
No, and if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your family down the end of it. Absolutely. We got a lot of people coming in the room, a lot of Army. Good to see all the
Army.
All the people coming in. Dave Crandall, Marine Corps, 68 to 70. Wow, there's a lot of people coming in here. This is awesome. This is going to be a lot of fun.
See, we got a fellow Andy in here, Andrew Uruski, USMC, 67 to 75, Quang Nam Province, 68 to 69. Thanks for your service, brother.
Hey, Andy, I do see some questions coming in already.
Okay.
We will probably try to get to the questions at the end of the time here. But for those of you who are interested to learn more, you can always sign up right there, and you can get started for free today. All right. Coaches are on standby, just waiting to answer questions. Our experts, our team of experts here are specialized in helping veterans with their claim process and coaching and consulting them through that. And if you're not sure, we do offer a 30-minute free session as well, a discovery session. And there it is right there in the chat. All right. So let's get started, Andy.
Absolutely.
So, being a former rating specialist and working for the VA, I used to see a lot of claims come in for Agent Orange exposure, and a lot of people, Vietnam era veterans, know what it is, but you get those rare ones that say, "Oh, I saw these big barrels filled with this orange stuff, and I was exposed to that." Well, that's not what Agent Orange was. It wasn't orange stuff. It was the labeling on the outside of the barrel that was orange, and that's how they called it Agent Orange. But do you know the original reason why they used that specific dioxin?
Yeah, it was an herbicide, defoliant, so it was to kill vegetation, so that you could put in airstrips or whatever the military needed to roll in as far as equipment goes. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And they actually used it to clear fields of fire as well.
Right.
And unfortunately, at the time, they didn't realize that there were going to be a lot of the negative impact that it has had on the veterans that served in Vietnam. And there's quite a few. It's just one of those things that they thought they were doing well, or they thought they were doing good, and they actually weren't. They were harming a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't think they expected, that. Well, because the chemical did its job, right? It did kill vegetation, it killed foliage, all that stuff. But they didn't expect, well, what do you expect? What do soldiers and Marines do? They run around. They run around on that ground. They hit the deck, right? They're crawling around in it, living in it, breathing it. So that's the exposure was instant, right?
Yeah. So in 1991, they actually had the Agent Orange Act.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring up some information on the Agent Orange Act here real quick.
Okay.
And there was actually another one in 2015. So the way a lot of things work as far as presumptives go, they do a study, and over time, if there's a lot of veterans who are exposed to a specific thing, they'll do this big study on it, but they'll have an independent third company usually do this study, and they'll do this study and they'll find out, well, okay, X amount of people were exposed to this contaminant essentially, and they're coming up with these conditions, right? So then Congress will go in and they'll say, okay, we're going to make this a presumptive condition. And presumptive, do you know what presumptive means?
Yeah, it's something that you were in a certain area during a certain time. So, and a high percentage of veterans or the populace was exposed to something. So one can presume that since you were there, you did a certain job, you were in a certain area, that it is more likely than not that condition probably affects you.
Right. That's absolutely right. And in 1991, they actually, the National Academy of Science, the VA asked them to analyze the people who are exposed to those specific, in this case, Agent Orange or the defoliant, the dioxin. So, we are getting a lot more questions in. Please, if you're interested in signing up, if you're interested in talking to a coach, come see us. We'll be more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely.
So, and now back to the Agent Orange Act of 1991. So they did their study. They came back and they found out that people who had boots in country, actually stepped foot in country, were definitely exposed to this Agent Orange. And so they started to look at some of the conditions that surrounded them, and some of the more common ones like diabetes, prostate cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, respiratory cancers, lung cancer, stuff like that. They determined that there was a high number of veterans who were exposed to that specific Agent Orange or that specific defoliant who are coming up with these conditions. So the VA started to, they said, well, all right, we're going to start compensating you for these conditions.
Yeah, and the folks started, in my research, folks started filing for conditions related to Agent Orange in around 1977, correct? And then not till the 90s, you said, did they start saying they were presumptive?
Yeah, started recognizing them as presumptive conditions. The nice part was, though, those people who filed back in the 70s and the late 70s, there was a law called the Nehmer. It was a Nehmer Act, where somebody had sued the VA and said, hey, I filed for these conditions way back when, and you didn't recognize them, you need to go back and you need to recognize them back to then. Right. So they do. They did a Nehmer thing, and I was actually part of the Nehmer project. I helped rate some of those claims. I helped develop some of those claims. So going all the way back and taking care of, and I made the comment in the beginning of this that if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your family. And in this specific case, they went back, and if the veteran was already deceased, the money would go to the family. Right. So, imagine getting a nice check, and I mean, unfortunately, you've lost your loved one.
Right. I get what you mean, for sure. Take care of the family at least, so they're not left in the lurch there. And correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't just Vietnam veterans; it was also folks that were stationed in Thailand, right? And that were crew members on C-123s, is the airframe that I believe.
Yeah. There's other exposures too. There's Korea, there's Thailand outside the bases and the perimeters of the bases. So back to Vietnam, they started off and they said, okay, it's boots in country. If you were boots in country, and the way the VA would verify that is on your DD form 214, it would show that you were in country Vietnam. It would show you were in the Republic of Vietnam. And there's several different ways on that DD form 214 to show that. Or they could go to your personnel file and look, and you could get orders. You could get orders, or you had orders that showed that you were shipped to Vietnam, right? Now later on, they came back and said, well, wait a second. Now people like Coast Guard that were deployed to Vietnam and the smaller Navy boats would go up the inland waterways and inlets. So they would they decided at that point that they're not just going to do that. They're going to say, okay, these people chances are they were exposed as well. So they started recognizing what's called brown water veterans. Right. So, and that expanded everything even further out. Now, in the interim, they started adding more conditions to that list. In fact, they're still adding conditions today. Do you know the 3 new presumptive conditions they added?
What were those again?
The 3 new presumptive conditions.
The 3 new presumptive conditions, as far as Agent Orange goes. You told me the other day, and gosh darn it, I let it slip. What were those new conditions, Darrell?
Bladder cancer was one of them. Parkinsonism was another one, and hypothyroidism is another.
That's right. Parkinsonism is different than Parkinson's, correct? That's
yeah. So Parkinson's is the all-out disease, and Parkinsonism are the tremors and the stuff that usually either precede or are Parkinson-like conditions. So, and then before they added those, though, they added another one. They added, and I was actually rating during the time they did this as well. They added the heart condition, ischemic heart disease, which was huge. It's absolutely huge, and that helped veterans, like with their bypass surgery and things like that help veterans also get recognized that, hey, this condition is caused by Agent Orange exposure, so we need to get them some compensation and get them some treatment and help them out as well. So it's been one hell of a fight for these Vietnam veterans, and it is unfortunate that it's had to be like that, you know what I mean? But
absolutely. And there's a number of cancers, correct? Would it be correct to say that prostate would be the most common that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, prostate is the most common that we are seeing right now. And like I said, there's a whole list. It's actually covered under the 38 CFR 3.309.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up. I didn't know if you wanted me to go through and read them all, or if that's, I don't know if we have enough time for that. But as Darrell said, it's listed in 38 CFR. Even if you did a quick Google search, you can go to the VA website, publichealth.va.gov. It pumps up. Just type in Agent Orange presumptive conditions, and then that'll pop up. So if you're curious about reading the entire list, folks, I would say go ahead and do that.
Yeah, or you can visit the company, sign up, get yourself a coach, and the coach can walk you through all of that. That's if you're not used to dealing with the VA on your own, and you've had a lot of struggles dealing with the VA, especially those Vietnam veterans who get frustration just mounts and builds, I'm sure, as with anybody else. But come see us, get yourself a coach, go over everything you have. Agent Orange exposure is not just limited to the things that are on the list. There's a lot of conditions that are secondary to a lot of the things on the list. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, folks. And, a lot of you are dealing with the VA right now, and we're fortunate to have Darrell because he did work on that side of things for a long time. And I'll tell you what, I was one of the lucky ones. I got out 100% right away. I could not imagine navigating this process on my own. Do yourself a favor, sign up, get that free 30-minute discovery call. And I'll tell you what, those coaches that'll talk to you will put you at ease a little bit. And, they will do a lot of work for you. They'll cut out a lot of the confusion, and they will make this process go a lot more smoothly for you. All right. So get signed up, go get that discovery call, sign up, get yourself a coach.
Yeah. Just, you got out with 100%. It took me 16 years to get to mine, and that
I'm extremely fortunate.
Yeah. There wasn't a company like this to help me out. So there was a lot of frustration, a lot of hit and miss, a lot of, it was very frustrating. So let somebody help you through that frustration. That's what I always say. That's the best way to do it. So, Agent Orange exposure. Yeah. If you want to go down, give us some of the stuff on the list. And I know there's some questions on there, like why don't they accept all lymphomas and stuff like that. So after you go down the list, I'll go ahead and address that.
Sure. There's AL amyloidosis. Bladder cancer is one of the newer ones that was just rewarded a presumptive recently, right? And chronic B-cell leukemias. So that's a type of cancer that affects the white blood cells. Chloresine or a similar acneiform disease, which is a skin condition. Diabetes type 2, Hodgkin's disease, hypothyroidism, which is another new one. Ischemic heart disease. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Ischemic heart disease. Apologies. Multiple myeloma. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Parkinsonism, which is the third new one. Parkinson's disease, obviously. Peripheral neuropathy, early onset. So that's a nervous system condition that causes numbness, tingling, and motor weakness. Porphyria cutanea tarda. Wow, I should have gone to med school so I could pronounce these. Taking some Latin. Prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, and soft tissue sarcomas. That rounds out the list here on va.gov. There's also, I have another list here, which it just goes into a little more of the sarcomas and acute and subacute peripheral neuropathy, which just worded a little differently. So that list rounds it out pretty well. But definitely, just don't take it from me here. Get with a coach. You can go in more in depth. They'll be able to look at your full picture when you provide them, your information personally. So this is just kind of a broad, look at some of the presumptives and the Agent Orange things here.
Yeah, kind of a higher level overview of it. But here's an interesting fact, though. If you previously filed for one of those 3 new presumptives, like the bladder cancer, hypothyroidism, and the Parkinsonism, you don't have to refile for those conditions. The VA will automatically look at those conditions for you and see if they can grant service connection. Now, it is important that you remember you could have served during the Vietnam era and been stationed in Germany or some other place, but right now the VA is only recognizing if you were boots on ground, if you were brown water. And just recently, they added blue water also. And blue water is if you were on a ship that was in 12 nautical miles of Vietnam, then they would recognize that as well, because they understand that sometimes people went on shore leave, and went into Vietnam or went in for missions and then came back out. So they've opened up blue water as well. So unfortunately, if you served in Germany during Vietnam era, or if you were still back in the States or anywhere else other than those 3 places, they're not going to recognize your exposure to, as far as Vietnam goes, your exposure to the defoliant.
Right. And that was about 90,000 Blue Water Navy veterans were ineligible for Agent Orange related benefits until, about a year. It's been, about 2 years. So January 2020. Is when that opened up, and that was due to the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act of 2019. So all of you folks that kind of fit into Darrell's description there, 12 nautical miles off the coast, definitely get with a coach. Get with a coach so you can navigate this process. I'll tell you.
Absolutely. And it's really important that you, if you do need that help, that you do get yourself a coach. Because I see when I was rating too, I had a lot of people who would say things like, well, I'm filing for Agent Orange exposure. One thing you have to remember, that exposure in and of itself is not a disability. You have to have one of those listed disabilities, the ones you ran off, in order for them to consider for compensation. Exposure in and of itself with anything, even like contaminated water in Lejeune, the burn pits in Afghanistan, Iraq, any of the presumptive conditions, they're presumed, but exposure in and of itself is not a disability.
Right.
Okay. And like Travis put in there, if you feel that you don't qualify for Agent Orange, reach out to one of the members of our team, or reach out to the company, and they'll find another way to help you with your service connection. This right here is more specific to exposure to Agent Orange and Vietnam veterans, but we have other veterans on here as well. Sign up, come see us.
Right. You got to look at this process as a big puzzle, right? And when you help your coach, when you get with a coach and give them your specifics, give that coach your specifics, your service records, even if you're not currently service connected for something, that coach can put that puzzle piece. They can start to put those together for you, and you can see a picture of maybe the benefits that you're entitled to. So definitely, it is worth your time to get a coach. Please don't do this on your own. If you do it, God bless you, but it's going to take you some time, and there's a lot of confusion out there. So it's a free country, but I would say get a coach. And
make sure you're filing for something that you're entitled to. If you're not entitled to it, and I saw that a lot. 1990s veterans dropping in exposure to Agent Orange as a condition on there, which anybody could have headed that off at the pass. But the VA has to take that time, and they have to develop that claim, and they have to rate that claim. So make sure you have the proper information when you're filing your claim. So I talked a little bit earlier about some secondary conditions too. And so you can be service connected for diabetes mellitus at 10%, 20%, or even regulation of activity with 40%. But then there's those secondary conditions that go along with that. And so if you're a Vietnam veteran or you're service connected for diabetes, that's not necessarily the end of that condition. A lot of conditions are based off a secondary, they're rated as a secondary condition. Mm-hmm. Like with diabetes, you've got peripheral neuropathy, you've got nephropathy, diabetic retinopathy. There's all kinds of other things that can be related too. So even if you're at that 10, 20, or 40% for diabetes, come see a coach, get yourself looked at. You may have something else there that's a secondary condition.
Right. Even with PTSD, there's secondary conditions of PTSD. So I know a lot of Vietnam vets I know struggle with that. And they may think, hey, well, I'm at 70 for PTSD. It's as good as I'm ever going to get. That's not necessarily true. So depending on what else you're going through physically, those could be attributed to your PTSD as well. So get with a coach so they can walk you through and kind of put together a personalized strategy for you.
Absolutely. So did you have anything else you wanted to kind of add along with the Agent Orange stuff?
Well, along with Agent Orange, a lot of presumptives of, for instance, there's what did the guys on the ground do? There's a lot of Vietnam veterans out there that are sitting at zero, and I know this is kind of it seems like a fallback, but just your hearing, right? Tinnitus, right away. There's guys with 0% out there, guys and gals with 0% that are sitting there like, well, I'm a Vietnam veteran and I'm seeing these guys and gals that maybe are at 100% and they weren't even in conflict. Well, there's always a foot in the door. So I would say get with a coach and look at the presumptives, regardless of what theater of war you were in. There are certain presumptive things to different MOSs. Whether you were on a flight line in Germany and you served in the 60s and 70s, there's probably presumptives there from your MOS alone or your AFSC or whatever you call it. As far as Vietnam goes, we just kind of read off the list of presumptives from that era, not necessarily just related to Agent Orange, but was there something more specific, Darrell?
No, I was just thinking. So I, just listening to you, but just thinking too that with the presumptive and the fact that these things are presumptive of service, really, typically the VA needs the Kaluza triangle stuff that we talk about all the time. They need an event in service,
right?
They need to have
diagnosis,
disability, and then they need to have a linking those things together. So the beauty of a presumptive condition is your DD 214, especially Vietnam era, your DD 214 is that
the nexus,
that condition in service and the nexus both, right? So you have one of these presumed conditions or one of these presumptive conditions. It's just that easy just to file for that condition. The VA has already got your DD 214. They already show that you were in country, brown water or blue water within 12 nautical miles. They've got your DD 214 that shows, so they've got that nexus already. So you're good to go.
Right. And going back to what you said earlier, it just, again, I want to reiterate, as Darrell put it earlier, Agent Orange exposure itself is not a presumptive condition. It's not a rated condition, right? If you are diagnosed and are being treated, or just diagnosed and it's a chronic condition of one of those that we listed off earlier, and you're not service connected for it, get with a coach, because they can help you out with hey, look, tell the VA, wave that little flag. Hey, look, I am, I was on the ground in Vietnam from this year to this year. I have this condition, and then have that coach go forward with you on how to get that done.
Yeah. So, and I've had some Vietnam veterans also, I've looked at their things and they've said, well, hey, I don't have it in my DD 214 that I was in Vietnam, or they can't find my personnel file that shows I was in Vietnam, but I was there. Here, I've got pictures showing me in Vietnam. I've actually used those to rate claims before. All right. He does have evidence. Letters home. If you wrote letters home, usually they have that FPO or that APO address on there. Those letters home can be used as evidence that you did serve in Vietnam as well and qualify for those presumptive conditions.
What about buddy letters from guys that you served with, Darrell?
Those could potentially work as well as evidence that you did, especially if they can look and say, okay, well, we've got this person's file. This person did serve in Vietnam, and he's contesting that this person did as well. That's absolutely usable.
Yeah. And with social media, I know a lot of folks, it's probably years and years and years until social media came out that you might not have connected with those. So maybe look for some of your old pals that you served with and reconnect. Maybe they have photos, right? Maybe they have some old photos stashed away somewhere. So,
pictures of you in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I know one of the popular pictures that a lot of the Vietnam veterans took were the sandbags in the background with the gun in the air, or those signposts that said Saigon this way and America that way. Those are always the real popular ones. But
the cigarette hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's proof. Travis put in there, so you don't need a nexus if I qualify presumptive. No, you don't. You don't need a nexus if you qualify for a presumptive, for those specific presumptives. Right. Now, there are some other ones that like the current burn pit ones that if you're outside that 10-year frame, you will need a nexus. But other than that, the Agent Orange exposure, no, you don't need a nexus. So we'll start. You want to start getting some of these questions in here?
Sure. Let's see. Let's scroll back up and try to hit them in chronological order here. I know some folks have been waiting. Let me find one that's related if you want to fill some time here.
Yeah. So there was one in there. I know there was one in there about hypertension. So I'm just going to address hypertension really quickly. Hypertension, you need to have 3 or more readings on 3 different days to show that your blood pressure is above a certain level. And most people who have that and go to the doctor regularly are on some kind of medication for it, which regulates their blood pressure. So that service connection for hypertension is, unless you're using it to move forward with something, like if you had a cerebral incident or accident or a stroke, essentially, then that would be something that you would want to use to build towards that stroke and relate it to service. But as far as just going after that, that's honestly, that's such a low value claim, if that makes any sense.
Like 10% typically, Right.
Yeah. But if you're interested in going that route and you'd like to have somebody take a look at your all your information, feel free to sign up with us, and we'll get you hooked up with a coach that can go through your file. I've had veterans in the past that want to do that, and I start looking at their claim or their stuff in their file, and it's like, yeah, hey, we can go this route. This is a higher value claim, and we can get you that compensation you deserve, and use the what is it? Jen always says, the path of least resistance, right? And so and it makes sense, and that's where a lot of that frustration comes in, is people they've got their mindset, I want to get this service connected, and that might be like sleep apnea, one of the hardest things to get service connected.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
There's easier ways to go about getting to the same thing, the same level of compensation, that without having to do that hypertension or without having to do that sleep apnea. And keep in mind, once you're 100%, you can be seen for everything, including dental.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So David Cazares asks, my father was in Vietnam from 68 to 69. He was exposed to Agent Orange. Do we as dependents, when we were younger, are we entitled to benefits because my father was a Vietnam veteran exposed to Agent Orange?
Unfortunately not. The only way it would be any kind of specific birth defect that could be related to Agent Orange exposure. And that's unfortunate that, that's unfortunate, especially in these days when, Vietnam veterans are passing away at record rates due to that exposure to Agent Orange. They do have, if your father was 100% service connected for a condition, they do have what's called DIC, or death indemnity compensation, that gives a portion of that 100% to dependents. It's usually the spouse of, or the oldest child of. What else we got here?
Let's see. A lot of statements. I'm not seeing I didn't see that hypertension question either.
Hey, Terry Lawson, thank you, man. I saw that up there earlier too. I was 40%, but with VACI, I'm now at 100% P&T. Now, understand that not everybody can get to 100%. Not everybody is 100%. But find it. Sign up if you're not signed. If you haven't signed up already, you don't have a coach already. Sign up. Get yourself a coach. See if you can get to that 100%. See if you have the ability or the claims necessary to get to that 100% level.
Absolutely. And Rick, I appreciate you, Rick Dowdy. He was at 10% for 21 years, and he signed up, got a coach, and now he's at 90%. Or sorry, he's about to hit 100%. He's at 90 currently. So good job, Ricky. We're proud of you, brother.
Another thing. So I'm seeing a couple of things in here. You don't have to be already service connected to come see us.
Correct.
You don't have to be. You don't even have to have ever filed a claim in order to come see us. All right.
Right. Look, remember what I said earlier. It's a puzzle piece. You get with a coach. They can look at your service records. They can look at your individual personal situation, and they can find something. They can find out things maybe that you didn't think about. They're not just going to come up with something out of thin air, but they're going to talk to you. They're going to look at things, and they're going to say, "Hey, what about this? You experience this? You experience that?" And they're going to work with you. They're going to find ways to help you out. And like Darrell said, sometimes there aren't ways to get to 100, but there are ways to get you from A to B in certain types of ways. So get with a coach. I can't sit here and give you examples because there's so many different people with a broad spectrum of things. But get with a coach, and they'll get that strategy put together for you. And guess what? Getting a coach is free. You don't have to pay anything to sign up. Get a coach. Read through that contract. Get yourself a coach, and set yourself up. Set you and your family up for success. All right.
I like the little blurbs Travis is putting in here. Do I need to wait for my service records to come in the mail before I call you guys? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Copy of your DD-214 helps. But no, absolutely not to come visit us. Come see what we're about. Get yourself a coach. That's you don't need your service records for that. Absolutely not. And James, someone definitely can help you. Absolutely. If you're getting nowhere with the VA, you're feeling that frustration. Yeah. Feeling that frustration, come see us.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of coaches that are they're experts in helping veterans just like you who are frustrated with the system get what they deserve.
Absolutely. Frank asks about bladder cancer. Frank, if you look at 38 CFR, just go to Google. You can look at the rating scales for pretty much every condition that there is. You go to VAClaimsinsider.com. There's also resources there as well. We have a blog. You can type in just about anything and something will pop up for you. But 38 CFR is where you go.
And an interesting fact about the cancers, okay? And I'm just going to throw this out there for everybody. If you have any kind of cancer and you can relate it to service, and in this case, we're talking Agent Orange. So if you have that prostate cancer, which is the most claimed cancer, I would say. If your cancer is still active, that's 100% rating. Okay, that's an automatic 100% rating if it's still active. Now, once you receive any kind of treatment, like you go in and you get radiation therapy or you have a prostatectomy or anything like that, now they base it off the residuals. So you won't be 100% because you no longer have the active cancer. You're based off the residuals, which is still like voiding dysfunction and erectile dysfunction, different things like that you can still get service connected for. So if you do have those cancers, by all means, go through the treatment. Don't let them sit and metastasize to other parts of your body. But just know that while it's active, you're entitled to that 100%. And I get a lot of questions about that. So how do they know if you go to treatment, right? Well, they do a routine future exam, and they do it for like every 6 months out. So you'll go to a doctor and they'll verify that your cancer is still active, or it's in remission, or you've received some kind of a prostatectomy or something like that. So there are those conditions. Most cancers, if not all, in fact, all cancers there's a routine future exam set up for those, so they can check for if it's still active or not. Other conditions, I saw somebody in here, they had a heart condition with a pacemaker. That is a set condition for life. Unless they put a routine future exam on anything, those are set conditions for life. Okay. The only time when they're not, obviously, is when you're not permanent total. There's a routine future exam that's set up through the VA, and you can see a coach here to help you with those as well. We can help combat those routine future exams, if you will.
Right. And Mike asks about the list of coaches. If you go to our website, go to the engagement area, there are, you can see all the coaches. I think there's a little bio about each of us. Isn't there? Or is that still there?
I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. But yeah, go to VAClaimsinsider.com. Yeah, there you go. There's Darrell's. Darrell's one of our SVCs. And there's mine. Don't judge my pictures. I'm probably not the most flattering. But yeah, there is a list. There is a list, Mike.
Absolutely. But you know what? All the coaches are more than qualified to help out any veteran that comes across. And the nice part about this VACI is we're a family here. So if I'm struggling with something and I need information, I can go to Andy and get the information I need. Same way with Andy. If he's struggling, he can go, if he doesn't know something, he can reach out to somebody else. And there's always a support system for information. So.
Right. And each team is lucky enough to have an SVC like Darrell. So, Caleb is my SVC. I probably blow, when I first started, I was blowing Caleb's phone up all the time. So there's a wealth of knowledge within the company. We all lean on each other. And, like I said, each team has a leader that kind of, just imparts their information or their knowledge down upon them. So, we're constantly learning. There's always something new going on. And, Travis runs our training. There's just, we're always trying to stay there with all the current knowledge and the current training. So you came to the right place, folks. Get yourself a coach.
Right. So there's a couple of questions in here, one from Al Probst and one from Robert Richmond.
Sure.
So Al, what if some of the presumptive illness and was not boots on the ground or blue water Navy, but you were exposed to Agent Orange at bases that DOD has records of, and you can prove you were there? Unfortunately, kind of that process I talked about in the very beginning, they're going to have to go through that. They're going to have to go through that process to say all right, we understand that there were either Agent Orange was stored, there were defoliants, dioxins stored at this facility, and now we're going to recognize that as well. Fort McClellan comes to mind, not for Agent Orange, but for other contaminants that were there. But unfortunately, the VA has to recognize those places as a place where they can say presumption of soundness, and it's presumed that those conditions were caused by what was there. And unfortunately, right now, it's only Vietnam, Thailand, and
Blue and brown water Navy.
Yeah, there's Vietnam, Thailand, and Korea right now currently. I do know for a fact, though, that they are working on Guam. There's actually what's it called? There's a group of people who are Guam veterans who are pushing with Congress and pushing through social media to get Guam recognized as a place. And if you go and do any research on Guam, they actually dumped barrels of Agent Orange into the ocean, right? They physically dumped them into the ocean. In fact, they made all people who were, and I know that was a huge docking area for submarines, so they even made those submariners stay in the sub. They wouldn't let them out of the sub during that time. So there's a huge push right now for Guam to get recognized.
Absolutely. And there's, like you said, which Marine Corps camp was that had the water? Is that
Lejeune? Yeah.
Lejeune, yeah. So there are things like that, and maybe in the future, folks that were at bases that had that chemical agent stored there, we'll keep a lookout. We'll trust them. We'll be some of the first to know. Just like I have a vet that I'm working with now who wasn't on the ground, but his job was to sandblast those aircraft that came back. And he's been fighting that for a few years because he believes that some of his conditions were from exposure to the Agent Orange that might have been on those aircraft. So, there's constant updates with the VA. They're always either approving, a new thing here, a new thing there. So, not all is lost, but you might just have to do some waiting.
Yeah. Rita Lane, I hope I answered that question for you as far as the cancers go. Unfortunately, with cancers, there will be a routine future examination on it. Cancers will not be. The only time I've ever seen a cancer stay no routine future exam is when it's terminal. Kind of thumbing through here too. Beth, my oldest son was born with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He died same year as his dad. Would he be entitled to anything? Unfortunately, no. Once they're deceased, there's really nothing that can be done. And I hate that. I urge every veteran that I ever talk to go out, work on getting their service connection, work on getting that, because it doesn't just affect them, it affects their entire family. Mm-hmm. Even after they're gone, it's still there for their family, right?
Right. For instance, and what Darrell means by that is if I were married, and I had children, which I don't, but if I did get married and have children and I passed away, then my spouse would be entitled to my benefits until her passing. So, take care of yourself, get that rating, because, you're not just taking care of yourself now, you're taking care of your family when you're gone. So be sure to do that. Make sure you go get a coach, get yourself set up, get yourself taken care of, and take care of your family for the future.
Absolutely. Now, I know we're answering a lot of questions about exposure to Vietnam. If you have other questions, feel free to throw those in the chat as well. If we can answer them, we'll be more than happy to answer them. If you don't get your question answered here, don't hesitate. Sign up with a coach. You can do a one-on-one session with them and get any questions you have answered right away. Do the discovery call if you're curious. Do the discovery call. Kind of go through things there, and if we can help you, we'd be more than happy to help you.
Right. Darrell says, different Darrell. Darrell says, my dad flew C-123s as a pilot for 1 year in Ben Hoa, Vietnam, and was denied his claims because, quote, his symptoms didn't manifest within 1 year. His job was to spray Agent Orange. Well, I would say get him with a coach. That coach will know exactly what to do, and to get him, refiled for that.
Yeah, and I know back in the day there were some conditions that had like chloracne had a 1 year time frame.
Mhm.
Peripheral neuropathy also had a 1 year time frame, and it wasn't from date of discharge. It was 1 year from date of last exposure.
Mm.
All right. So and I'm pretty sure that they threw that 1 year timeline out. So Darrell, if your dad is still with us, if he's still around, have him go back in and revisit those claims. Okay.
See, Stephen asked, so the latest presumptive conditions, Stephen, were hypothyroidism, bladder cancer, and Parkinsonism. Those are the new updated presumptive conditions for Agent Orange exposure.
Right. And remember that if you have filed before for those conditions, any of those conditions, you don't need to refile. The nice part is that the VA, when the rater goes in or when the VSR goes in, they put the contentions in. That's what they're called, the items that you're claiming in, and the VA tracks those items. All right. So they can go back into their new system they've got and they can say, okay, X amount of veterans filed for this condition. All right. So, and that's kind of how they identified the Nehmer when the Nehmer project came about for Agent Orange exposure. They went through and they said, okay, all of these veterans filed for diabetes mellitus. We need to go back in, look, verify Vietnam service, verify date of claim, verify that they actually have the condition that they filed for. And then they were able to service connect based on that. So if you filed for one of those three conditions before, the VA knows that you filed for one of those three conditions before, and they will automatically go back in and look at those for you. All right. They just denied him in 2021. He is very much still alive. So Darrell, what I would honestly, if you're with the company, if you're not with the company, I would get with the company, or have your dad get with the company, and they can look at that reason and rationale other than just 1 year, using the 1 year, and we do have the ability to do that higher level review or help you with that higher level review. Help you with that higher level review or help you with that supplemental claim, and take a look. Oh, you're his rep? Okay. Yeah, just take a look at that denial letter, and I would honestly, I would keep pressuring it, keep pushing it. James Warren, I was in Vietnam aboard the USS Enterprise in 71. Sometime we were so close inland that you could actually see the sky light up if you were topside at night. Was Agent Orange airborne? See that, James Warren, that is what would put you, if as long as you were within that 12 nautical miles, that would put you in the presumptive zone. So, yeah. So they did say that Agent Orange was airborne, but it only went so far, and that's where they got that 12 nautical miles. So, if you can Google it, but you can look, and there's actually a list of ships that went into the inland waterways. The VA put out a list of boats or craft or whatever you want to call them. I'm a Marine, wasn't in the Navy. That has a list of those people or those boats that went up the inland waterways, and they also have a list of the ships that were outside within that 12 nautical miles. So if you're within that 12 nautical miles on the USS Enterprise, by all means, I would recommend either getting a coach and filing or filing.
And right, just to reiterate, Agent Orange exposure itself is not a condition that's rated. You have to, be diagnosed with one of those presumptive conditions. Just want to reiterate that because I feel like a lot of folks think, well, Agent Orange exposure is in of itself just a condition, and it is not. It provides you with a presumptive for one of the, service connection for one of those conditions that are listed on 38 CFR, or, you can go to the va.gov and see yourself. We did list those out earlier. Sorry if you missed that. But those, again, I'll read, the new ones are hypothyroidism, bladder cancer, and Parkinsonism, or the new ones. Let's see here. What type of doctor gives diagnosis for hypothyroidism?
Endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist.
Endocrinologists. There are people who study the damage to the thyroid gland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could a general practitioner give that diagnosis as well, or would they refer them to a specialist like the endocrinologist?
They can do that diagnosis as well, but they'll probably refer them to endocrinologists
Okay.
also. Yeah, and it, like it all, just like the VA does everything on severity, it would really all depend on the severity of it.
Right. He has neuropathy diagnosed and melanoma and one other. All right. Yeah, definitely, brother. I'd sign up, get with a coach, and see what your path forward there is, Darrell.
Darrell is, yeah. So nephropathy is commonly associated with diabetes mellitus. So if they've got diabetes mellitus, Darrell, if your dad's got diabetes mellitus, then it's nephropathy is just a common, or kidney disease is just a common secondary condition for that.
Mm-hmm. Cecil Dixon asked, if a previous claim gets denied, can you refile that same claim? Yes, you can. You could do an appeal, which you would need new and relevant medical evidence, and or you could do an HLR within a certain time frame there. If you disagree with their findings and you want to highlight, a contradiction or a different argument.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the Appeals Management Act, the AMA in 2019. It opened up those extra lanes. So before you would have to wait for years, you go through the appeals process, you would have to wait for years to get a decision on your appeal. But now you have the ability to either do a higher level review where you have a senior level rater look at your claim and do a de novo review essentially and go all the way back through the file and can change the denial to a grant. Or you have the supplemental lane where you can include new and relevant evidence and get your claim looked at again. So it used to be where you'd have to wait years, and now it's a lot quicker than that, and your claim's not dead in the water essentially like it used to be when you got denied through the appeals process. Mike Beckerat, yeah, absolutely. Is it possible to contact Darrell directly? I've been denied previous PTSD, never done file for Agent Orange, so I was ready for PTSD. That is absolutely a falsehood. You can file. But yeah, if you want to come to the company and request me specifically, then absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Alan asks, can I see what the doctor on a CNP exam has filed with the VA? You can do a FOIA. You can request to get the DBQ and kind of see what that doctor filled out. I don't know how long that takes though. You know Darrell, about how long that takes?
Yeah, actually, I would. The FOIA request is okay, but I would do the new process that they have where you fill out that form and you submit it. It takes 6 to 8 weeks, and you get your entire claims file.
Okay.
All right. So, and that's got your service treatment records in it, your personnel file in it. It's got any CMPs you've had, any rating decisions you've had. It's got everything in there. Now, that only works if you file the claim with the VA previously. If it's your initial claim and you haven't filed a claim before, then they don't have a claims file on you. Not until you file that claim do they put that claims file together for you.
Got it. Reminder, we have about 5 minutes left. I do kind of want to get a little information out there to you folks. Anytime you want to get a hold, just see what we got going on. We are on all social media at VA Claims Insider. Our website is vaclaimsinsider.com. We are VA Claims Insider on Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I think we're on TikTok now, aren't we, Darrell?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
I, from what I'm told, Brian Reese does one daily.
There you go.
Yep.
And immediately after this Facebook Live, you can jump on over to our Mastermind Roll Call Q&A. So if you have more questions, there's a bunch of coaches in there. That's at 12 Central Standard. So here in about 4 minutes, it is the Mastermind Roll Call Q&A. And then at 7 p.m. Central Standard, we have the most important class, in my opinion, the CMP examination prep and coaching class. Tomorrow, we start it all over again with Coffee with the Coaches. There's another elite member Q&A. And tomorrow evening, there is a new client group orientation. And you just, every morning, Monday through Friday, we've got that, we've got the coffee with the coaches. So make sure, get signed up, get a coach so we can work on your individual claim, sit in on these classes. And we're so glad to have you folks here. You mean a lot to us. We could not run without you. So thank you very much for everything you've done for the country. Thank you for everything you do for us here. Kind of give us a reason to get out of bed every morning and help out you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just kind of want to, I know we've only got a couple minutes left here. I wanted to just kind of say, working for the VA for 11 years, I was a VSR, I was an RVSR, and I was part of the management staff at the local regional office too, where I helped with post development. There are a lot of questions that veterans have that the VA, for some reason, unless you go to a specific training, they won't answer those questions for you. They have their public contact and they have their 1-800 number that you can call, but they don't really address the underlying issues or the exact issues. And that's why I love working for this company, because not only do you get a coach when you sign up, you get a coach, but you also get access to all of our elite stuff, our elite portal plus. You get access to that has a whole plethora of resources in it. You get accesses to YouTube videos, Facebook channels, the support system that you get from other veterans. I always joke around and say best job I ever had, but it's true. This is the best job I've ever had, and working with veterans is a passion of mine, and being able to help them and take my knowledge that I earn or that I gain from working at the VA and put that out there. Is very satisfying. It's very satisfying. So, and I know all the coaches feel the same way. Being able to help veterans is very satisfying. And, and watching veterans or listening to veterans get that rating that they deserve is very gratifying. It's like my birthday every day. Every time I get a veteran say, "Hey coach, I just got 100%." It's like my birthday every day all over again.
Making that phone call, man, it just makes me want to jump on an airplane and go go see him and give him a big bear hug.
It does.
It's life-changing stuff. It really, truly is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've only got a minute left here. Andy, awesome. Thanks, man, for working by my side today.
Hey,
I appreciate
thank you. It's awesome working with you, Darrell. Every time I talk to you, I feel like just a wealth of knowledge is kind of, it's like a blanket of knowledge that I just get. So, hey, seriously, Darrell, you were one of the more knowledgeable guys here, and I relish every chance I get to work with you. So thank you very much.
All right. You guys sign up. That's all I can say. Come visit us, sign up. What do you have to lose?
Heck yeah. Come join us. We love working with you. Let's get you that dub.
Right.
That big W.
And I'm just going to leave you with this. I had a principal. I used to be a high school history teacher and a head football coach. And every morning in the morning announcements, I had a principal that would come over the morning announcements, and he would end them by saying, "Have a great day or not. The choice is yours."
This is true. Have a good one, everybody.